Director Generals, Chief Executive Officers, and Managing Directors of agencies and parastatals under the ministries here this morning, editors, bureau chiefs, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It's my singular honor and privilege to welcome you all to the 4th edition of the Ministerial Press Briefing Series holding here today. You may wish to recall that so far in the Ministerial Press Briefing Series, we've been graced with the presence of the Ministers of Regional Development, as well as the Minister of Livestock Development, and just recently, the Honorable Minister and Minister of State in the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. This morning, very distinguished guest, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, as well as the Ministry of Education. Without further ado, permit me at this time to invite to the podium the Honorable Minister of Information and the host of the Ministerial Press Briefing Series, Mohammed Idris, Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. So please lift the curtain on today's proceedings. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Communication, Mr. Sunday Dari, Permanent Secretaries of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Ministry of Education. Heads of agencies here present, agencies of Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Information, Media and Special Duties, Mr. Tunde Rahman. Special Assistant to the President, Senior Special Assistant to the President, Mr. Tope Ajayi. Another very senior government functionaries here, my colleagues, the reporters here. I am the chief reporter of the government of Nigeria. Let me welcome you once again to this Ministerial Press Briefing. It is my pleasure to welcome the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN, Permanent Secretaries, and all government functionaries here. Today presents a valuable occasion for the Honorable Ministers to update Nigerians on the progress and key achievements recorded under their stewardship. This session is an interactive platform, leveraging multimedia channels to promote transparency and direct engagement, offering first-hand insights into the policies, initiatives, and reforms shaping the ministry's objectives. Since the launch of the 2025 Ministerial Press Briefing Series, 5 honorable ministers have taken the stage to present their scorecards to Nigerians. As I have previously emphasized, each minister will, God willing, have this platform to engage directly with the media. This initiative, spearheaded by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, underscores government's commitment to transparency and accountability. It serves as a platform to keep Nigerians informed about ongoing policies and programs of the Tinubu administration to ensure that citizens remain actively engaged in the nation's governance process. We sincerely appreciate the media for their unwavering dedication in covering the ministerial press briefing session. Their effort in keeping Nigerians informed about the administration's policies, programs, and achievements are truly commendable. As a cornerstone of our democracy, the media continues to play a crucial role in fostering an informed and engaged citizenry. Our country stands at a critical juncture as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu implements bold and transformative reforms to lay the foundation for a new Nigeria. Across the world, history has shown that all meaningful reforms are never easy. They demand sacrifice, resilience, and commitment to long-term progress. The initial pains that often accompany these changes are the necessary price we all have to pay for a more stable and prosperous future. I want to sincerely appreciate Nigerians for their patience, perseverance, and unwavering belief in the President's vision. These reforms are not just well-intentioned, they are essential for the growth and development of our nation. Let me say that we have crossed the Rubicon, and the pains are gradually easing as the positive impact of these reforms are beginning to manifest. Already, we are witnessing a marked reduction in food prices, stability in the exchange rate, and a gradual decline in the cost of petroleum products, which are clear indicators that the reforms are indeed yielding positive results. As we continue on this journey, I am appealing to our religious leaders to use this period of the Ramadan and Lent to offer prayers for the peace, security, and progress of our dear nation. Only last week at the annual Ramadan lecture organized by the Nigerian Television Authority, the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and the Voice of Nigeria, I emphasized the vital connection between faith, policies, and governance. A nation thrives when its leaders govern with a sense of divine responsibility. And I assure you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu leads with the utmost fear of God, guided by the conviction that history will judge his administration favorably. I want to urge all our Muslim and Christian leaders, particularly during this period of Ramadan and the Lent, to continue to pray for Nigeria's success. With unity, faith, and collective effort, we will emerge stronger, more resilient, and positioned for lasting prosperity. Now, let me say that the ground rule for this engagement is that each of the ministers will have a maximum of 30 minutes to speak to you. And then the second minister will also have a maximum of 30 minutes. After which, there will be another full hour of interactive engagement with members of the media. It is now my singular honor to invite the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, to go first. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Information, Mr. Mohammed Idris, for giving us, as the Minister of Education, these opportunities to talk to Nigeria. Let me also recognize the presence of the Minister of Aviation, Mr. Festus Kayamo, the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Nonuga, Special Advisor to the President on Media, Mr. Sunday Dare, the two permanent secretaries that are present here today, the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Education and Aviation, all head of agencies that are present here today, directors present here and other senior government officials, and more importantly, members of the fourth realm of our government, the press. Thank you for inviting us and for this big opportunity to talk to Nigeria. The mandate that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given us to totally reform the education system in Nigeria. The several challenges that we met, can I have projection of the slides? But some of the numbers, projection of good. So, I'll talk about the challenges, talk about the strategies we've put in place, and a target, and the things we've made quickly in the last several months and in the last almost 2 years that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has took over the leadership of the country. We all know our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a fervent believer and benevolent believer in human capital development. And when you talk about human capital development, what are you talking about? Education, health, and social protection. When the president was campaigning all over the country, he said, I would take difficult, he spoke to Nigerians directly and told them, I'll be honest with you. I'll take difficult decisions. But those decisions that I will take, it's not for now, but for prosperity, for the future of your children and the future of your grandchildren. And when you have a leader making decisions like that, based on the future of your children and your grandchildren, you can be 100% assured that those are right decisions. And when you take right decisions, difficult decisions. That's what this president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has done. And now we're all seeing the results of those difficult decisions. The light at the end of the tunnel, we're seeing it clearly, and I can assure you the tunnel is now getting shorter and shorter. We're getting to El Dorado. And you saw you heard the Minister of Information just reeled out some of the gains that we're seeing. But these are real gains, not superficialities, not band-aid. But these are gains based on real fundamentals of our economy. Now, I'll talk about education. The several challenges that we met, but some of these numbers are now better. We have about 60 million Nigerians between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. Of these 60 million Nigerians, 45 million of them are learning poor. What do I mean by learning poor? That means a child that belongs to this 45 million, within the category of the 5 million people, cannot read age-appropriate tests at the age of 10. We have one of the highest burden of children that are learning poor in the country. And we also have an unviable record of having the second highest number of children that are out of school in the world. We need to know our problems so that we can put strategies to clearly and meticulously address these problems. Of these 15 million people that are out of school, 50% of them have never been enrolled in school. 5% of them are dropout, and 25% of them belongs to the Amajiri category. And there's argument back and forth if the Amajiris are really out of school, because they go to school, but they're just not getting Western education. But we have clear strategy on how to take numeracy, literacy, and vocational skills to these Nigerians. Also, looking at a girl child, the female population, we have 20 million adolescent girls today in Nigeria between the ages of 12 and 19. And 6 million of those young Nigerians are out of school. And with a fertility rate of about 103 births per thousand, we have a population is projected to rise in the next 25 years to 400 million. We have to sprint. Today, we have clear strategies on how to do this, to address all these challenges that have laid before Nigerians. We've come up with clear agenda under our Nigerian sector, Nigerian Education Sector Renewal Initiative, with clear strategic goals, which is moving our nation from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. We have that capacity. Nigeria has a unique demography in the world. Very unique. Good democracy, good demography that we need to tap. We have a population of 220 million people. Of these 220 million people, 70% of that population, they're below the ages of 30 years. But vibrant, youthful population, dynamic population, eager to learn, eager to work, making changes, both in Nigeria, globally. So what do we need to do as a government is to equip them with the skills that they need. And that's what we're doing exactly at the Ministry of Education, to move our country from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. Clear strategic goal to reduce the number of out-of-school children, reduce learning poverty, increase skills and human capital development. And we have a clear 3 pillars on how we're going to do this and how we're doing this. Equitable access to basic education that will give us, that include increased level of literacy, numeracy, and critical thinking with skills. Reducing the burden of our out-of-school children and integrating these kids into formal education, giving them formal education, and beyond formal education, giving them life skills for them to be able to be useful to themselves, to the community they live, to the country, and the world at large. The second pillar, increase quality of education and learning outcomes. I'll go into each of our strategies under each pillars. And the third pillar, strengthen governance and management in our education system. With these clear 3 pillars, we have 3 cross-cutting enablers: data and digitalization. We need data. Without data, you can't really plan. We need data to plan, intervene, and monitor outcomes. We've laid out a clear, robust data and digitalization agenda for our education system. We have inaugurated the Nigerian Education Data Infrastructure Platform. We're working closely with the Ministry of Communication, Digital Economy, as well as NIDA. We have a clear agenda on how we will roll all our education data from the foundational level into one data, going to our secondary school level as well as a tertiary school level. We've also started intense collaboration with our sub-national government. We've met with the Nigerian Governors Forum, and we also have a series of meetings that are planned ahead. We've worked to rejuvenate the Commissioner of Education, the State Commissioner of Education Forum. We've met several times. We're queuing them in our agenda as we move along. Also, we're also working, developing renewed partnership with the private sector so that we can all coordinate together, plan together, so that we can all be our interventions will be more impactful. Next slide. So, with all that has been said, we've laid out 6 high priority intervention areas. TVET, technical vocational education, is the bedrock of what we're doing. We have an expansive agenda to move hundreds of thousands of young Nigerians to give them the life skills that they need. And when we talk about technical and vocational education and training now, it's real technical and vocational training. We adopt the rule, 20% didactic and 80% practical trainings. When I say Pareto rule, what is success? Pareto is what is success? 80% policy, 20% policy and 80% implementation. And that's how we can be successful with this expansive TVET agenda. We have clear 4 steps on how we intend to do this. Step 1, we would incentivize our young citizens, Nigerian, to go to seek technical and vocational skills. We will pay them monthly stipend, pay them accommodation to get to where they're going to get the skills. Step 2, the schools that we've identified, 3 clear areas of training. Number 1, the skill training centers, the vocational enterprise institutes, and the state and federal technical colleges will be the 3 major areas where we will be training these children. We will pay these schools decent tuition fee for each student they train. We want to start a new value chain in a technical and vocational education system. As we pay these schools decent tuition, they'll have more funds to invest in building infrastructures, building workshop, and hiring teachers. It's step 3 of what we're doing. I told you we're focusing on practical training. We've identified the mastercraft persons, the large industries, the medium-sized industries, and the artisans. We will pay these industries, these artisans, per child, per citizen that they train. We will use the dual modality. When these kids enroll in school, dual mode of training, when they enroll in school, they will spend 3 days with ID skill centers at the mastercraft person centers. Spend 1 day for their didactic lectures and spend 1 day in their workshop in their school. We've put plans together. We've mapped all these industries to where these skill training centers are, where the vocational enterprise institutes are, and where federal and state technical colleges are. Do that as well. As we do this training, we've done labor gap analysis. We're not just going to be training people based just arbitrarily. We have clear ideas of the labor gap needs of each geopolitical zone. So we'll be doing targeted with clear targets of what we need today. We've added new trades like CNG conversion and maintenance, solar panel maintenance and assembling. We've also put we're using more of electric vehicles, electric tricycles, electric motorbikes. We've added trades like that. And also, as part of our food security, we're putting a lot of emphasis on training in mechanized farming and livestock production. So, step 4. I've told you 3 steps. Step 1, we will incentivize our citizens to seek this technical and vocational education. We will build a new business ecosystem in our vocational schools. And step 3, we will train them very well in those skills as this people places. Step 4, as these kids are graduating, we've also put together entrepreneurial grant for the ones that want to start their business opportunity. And all these things that I've said cost money, but I can assure you today that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his fervent belief in human capital development, has given us substantial budget to move this agenda forward. Do we have enough of money that we need? No, but we have a substantial amount of money, of almost 120 billion naira that the President has approved for us to move this agenda forward. This TVET program will be launched probably the month of May, at the latest, the first half of June of this year. Speaking about TVET, we also are putting a lot of renewed emphasis on STEM with 2 M's. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences. Today, our universities are training a lot of our children with no life skills. So we're refocusing our education at tertiary school to focus on areas of needs. Today, we don't have enough nurses in the country. Even if we train 2 million nurses today in the country, there's no market for them. Let's use our population to saturate these areas of needs. Even if we don't get job here, they'll get job abroad. Those citizens will go abroad, they'll send money to their family. That's a huge direct source of foreign direct investment to the country, giving us well-needed forex. So we're focusing heavily on that. And as we have a lot of these young kids outside that have been trained in courses that they can't get job, we have a clear plan on how to retrofit their skills, to give them new skills. As part of our TVET agenda as well, that we've embedded in our tertiary, people that graduated from our tertiary schools, institutions, all the final year students, we've developed what we call DTA, Digital Training Academy, to train these kids with skills, give them with skills that they need, that they Nigeria or anywhere in the world. They will stay in Nigeria and make decent living. Today, based on UNESCO data, there are about 658,000 vacancies in software development methodologies, about 280,000 vacancies in proactive security that we call cyber security. There are about 168,000 vacancies in IT automation, another 150,000 vacancies in AI and machine learning, about 120,000 vacancies in cloud computing, about 68,000 vacancies worldwide in national language processing. If you add that together, we have almost 2 million job vacancies out there. So what we're doing with that Digital Training Academy, we're working with trainers now that will offer 6 months to people, young Nigerians, to get this training. We as a government, we will pay for their internet services, we will encourage them, we would find or pay for computer for them or contract with CPT centers. These citizens will be trained 6 months, we will pay for their certification, Cisco certification, AWS certification, Huawei certification, Google certification. Once they get this international certification, they can sit here in Nigeria, apply for jobs anywhere in the world, service a company in Singapore, London, Germany, India, and China, and they will get very decent pay, $3,000, $4,000 a month. That's not bad pay. So that's a strategy that we want to use to move a lot of our young kids, to give them these digital skills that they need to service the world. That we launch also on or before June of this year. We have clear plans to address our out-of-school children. We're going to do conditional cash transfer. We're working with the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry on how we're going to do this. We're trying to plan the process on how this will be done. We've gotten the NIPSI to join us as well, so that we can now have a register that is clean, and as these funds go to these parents, we know where exactly we're paying the right people. So we have a clear plan to address on our out-of-school children. We also have launched a Lumina program for a girl child education. That was launched just last week. That part of our strategy is being led by our Honorable Minister of State for Education. So we have clear strategy on how to increase the number of, to reduce the burden of girl child that are out of school. Now, I spoke to you about data and digitalization. This, we have clear plans. We've met severally with what-known consultants. We're going to use exactly what India has used. India has a robust digital platform that they call NTA. We've met with the developers of those platforms. We're going to engage them. We'll work to engage them to build that customized digital platform for us, where we begin to take clear foundational education data from JAM, from all our universities, all our polytechnics, NECO data, JAM data, everything will be housed in one platform that we call Nigeria Education Data Infrastructure. And we're building this for sustainability. We have clear funding that we'll continue to use to maintain this data platform. Of course, we're focusing heavily on education quality and assurance. We now have a renewed strategies to address, to quality assure the kind of education we're giving our children. And as we give them this education, we also quality the teachers that are training our children. So that as we do this, the high level of learning poverty that we have will significantly reduce. Next slide, please. So, what are the performance target? I spoke heavily on the Tibet. We have planned to, between now and 2027, to give 650,000. That's actually conservative estimate. Nigerians, new digital, technical, vocational skills, as well as digital skills, that they would skills that they will use to start working and start making incomes. With our STEM, we have clear strategy on how we're going to quadruple the number of admissions into a medical school, focusing heavily on medicine, pharmacy, nursing, and dentistry. What we've done now, beyond the usual budgetary allocation to medical schools, third fund has been done that all the high impact intervention spending for this 2025 will be directed 18 identified schools that we've carefully chosen in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. The funding will go to improving student classes, improving infrastructures in their lecture auditoriums, in their lab, and also building hostels. As we do this, we have clear strategy to expand the capacity of our medical schools. And as we expand the capacity of these medical schools, a major rate limiting step is that they don't have accommodation. Third fund will also be building accommodation for them in the identified medical school. We're also building simulation labs. We'll be building world-class simulation labs in 6 medical schools across the country. As we build this simulation lab, we can geometrically expand the number of students that we're admitting to our medical schools. With regard to nursing, we would exceed our quadrupling of admission in the next 2 years. We're engaging our National Board for Technical Education, setting up a lot of monotechnics across the country, focusing on nursing and community health. With regards to our out-of-school children, we have targets of moving 10 million citizens, Nigerians, from the street to school. We have a clear strategy on how we're going to do that. Today, we're lucky we now have an agency, National Commission for Emergencies and After-School Commission. The law was clearly designed not just to make policy, but also to operate. So we're moving more resources to this agency. And also we're collaborating more with our other agencies that are the agencies that have anything to do with out of school. We now have a ministerial committee that is set up as me as the chairman, Honorable Minister of State as the vice chairman, and with the ES of UBEC, ES of Nigerian Commission, ES of Nomadic Education, and ES of Nigeria NMEC, so that we're meeting and we're actively looking at our interventions and seeing where our results are going, what we need to change and what we need to intervene. I thought I was given 30 minutes. I don't think I've used up to that. But then, so next slide, please. Next slide. So with regard to our girls' child education, we have planned to move to educate additional 1 million girl child in the country. I've spoken about data and digitalization. I've spoken about quality assurance. Now, in the last 18 to 24 months, what have you achieved? Our achievements are there. Let me see the next slide. We have a TEL fund program, a student loan program is working well. Please, the members of press, please tell students it's easy. It takes less than 1 minute to start the application. It's online. Today, we have we've invested 43 billion in a loan program. Real beneficiary of this student loan programs. We've embarked on aggressive institutional reform for UBEC. There's a big part of UBEC, this matching grant, this 50% matching grant, that is preventing a lot of our subnational government from accessing these grants. We're working to reform and to make changes to that act, so that we can free up this investment for our subnational government, so that they can direct more funding in coordination with them to a foundational level. You've heard about the 18-year minimum age policy for education that we reversed. For the first time, we now have an anti-bullying policy in the education system and for the country. We have the HOPE education, the human opportunities for prosperity and equity, a World Bank loan that we're moving quickly to get approved. It will be approved. It's going to the World Bank Council by the end of this month, and once that gets approved, we'll move it to a Federal Executive Council, and then we can begin to direct this funding to our foundational education level. And the way the HOPE loan has been designed, it's been designed as a pay for performance. It will be directed at the subnational government, but it will be based on indicators, clearly marked out quality indicators and delivery indicators. We're engaging our citizens more. Also, the National Library that has been abandoned for the last 2 decades. Mr. President has given marching order for us to start the construction of the library. Not just orders, the President has also given some money, about 40 billion, for us to resume construction of the library. And we also we're working with the National Sport Commission. Sport is part of education. for the first time now, we're collaborating with the National Sport Council with a Nuga game, Naisiga game, and the Nipoga game. We're collaborating together more intensively. We have a heavy focus in using education to improve our food security. We've earmarked some money today in this 2025 budget to be directed to our University of Agriculture and universities that have big faculty of agriculture. We'll be giving them about 1 billion for them to go into mechanized farming. Also, with student mobility, Mr. President has kindly approved the purchase of electric vehicles, electric buses for some of our universities. These buses will be handed over to the student union, to the respective student unions of these universities, so that they can operate and use it to transport students within their campuses. With regards to our foundational education, we have clear strategy on how we're getting this right now. And I'll tell you a bold agenda. Next slide, please. Bold agenda with a foundational education. With regards to infrastructures, between now and 2027, we will renovate 195,000 classrooms across the nation. We will install 20,000 toilets, 23,000 boreholes across all the schools in the country. We will construct about 7,000 new classrooms, and as we do this, with our learning and teaching and learning materials, we plan to mobilize almost 103 million textbooks. And let me tell you, we're also going to move away from this paper textbook. We will work as we go into the future to ensure that every student in Nigeria has a tablet, where we can now begin to move educational content into these tablets. This is how we can become effective. We're talking with some AI companies that will also give us some AI platform that, as the teacher is teaching the children in school, the AI platform will summarize the salient point of what's being taught. Also, direct them to where they can get additional learning materials. This AI platform would also assist our teachers in developing their teaching plans. So these will be embedded in those tablets. And we also plan to deploy almost 2 million in teaching aids, 2 million supplies of teaching aids to our schools, as well as train and retrain about 1 million teachers within the next 2 years. I think I'll stop I think I've exceeded my time. I'll stop from here. Thank you so much.
I believe we can make the applause a bit louder for the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much. Without wasting any much time, we'll take the next presentation, after which we'll take the question and answer session. Permit me at this time to invite to the podium the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. My brother, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has eaten into my time. So let me try and engage in some time management here. Before we started, I was to go first. He then appealed that he should go first because education is more important than aviation. So I told you are clapping. I told my permanent secretary to immediately put him on the no-fly list. Let us see how he will fly from one school to the other. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and please permit me to adopt the protocols that were established earlier today because I want to manage my time. Now, the first question I asked when we wanted to do this series was that, do we repeat all that we had achieved? And we said last year, I think we were here last year, June or July, or do we continue from where we stopped? And I said, well, let me continue from where we stopped so that we won't be repeating ourselves. At that time, when we were here last time, we said so many things were in the pipeline, if you remember. And the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a government that does not keep things in the pipeline for too long. Those things that were in the pipeline last year, they have become fully blown now, full-blown achievements. And so we will no longer be talking of so many pipelines here today. Those are full-blown achievements. So we'll start, if you look at our presentation, the first 10 or so pages, we'll skip them, because those are the things we had said last year we had achieved. So we don't want to just use those ones as achievements now to cover up on our achievements. No, we have achieved so much more after then, and we are going to start talking about those full-blown achievements. So you will skip some of those pages. We have talked about all of this. Let me start from sometime in July last year. At that time, we said we are at the cusp of achieving a couple of things. And let me start talking, reeling out those things we had achieved. Through the diplomatic efforts led by the president himself, we had mended our relationship with the UAE. I'm sure you all know, it's not secret, it's open secret, that our relationship with the UAE was very bad, very damaged at the time this government came into office. And one of the effects of that damaged relationship was the suspension of flights, the Emirates flights between both countries. We are at the cusp of bringing them back at that time in July. So we are happy to report that we continued those diplomatic shuttles. We entered into a new BASA agreement with the UAE, bilateral service agreement. We negotiated back and forth, and we succeeded in opening that route again to Nigeria. So Emirates is back. They started October 1 last year. But that is not all. That is not all. In bringing them back and signing a new BASA agreement, we ensured that we took care of our local airlines and the interests of our local airlines. So we negotiated a couple of things with them. We said, look, can you enter into code sharing agreements with some of our local airlines in order to develop these local airlines too? Because the truth of the matter is that sometimes when you bring some of these international airlines, yes, you are happy about that, but then you also bring them in direct competition with local airlines which do not have the capacity to compete with them on some of these routes. So the best way and the most clever thing to do is to ensure that they could share with them in order to also lift their capacity. So we are happy to report that today that in bringing them back, Emirates did not only come back, but they have also entered into a code sharing agreement with one of our local operators, Air Peace. Today, very soon, that code sharing agreement will take off. And so you may be able very soon to, for example, buy a ticket from Calabar to Dubai directly. And so Air Peace will lift you from Calabar, bring you to Lagos, and then you board the Emirates proper. You go to one ticket, just one ticket. You go to Dubai, and when you come back, they drop you in Lagos. Air Peace picks you again to Calabar, one ticket. That is code sharing agreement. So we have ensured that we entered in we brokered that deal on behalf of our local airlines, and more of such code sharing agreements will follow with many other local airlines, with other international airlines. We are in the process of negotiating some of this on their behalf. It also aligns with one of our 5-point agenda, which I should have started with, but we have said that over and over again, that this is the first government that has taken it upon itself to put as one of its clear objectives the support and growth of our local airlines, whilst holding them to the best international standards. In the whole of Africa, all the airlines in Africa are either sponsored, supported, or subsidized by the governments of those countries. Rwanda Air, South African Air, Egypt Air, Moroccan Air. Call them, name them, everyone. It is only in Nigeria that you have robust and 100% private participation. So it's a different ballgame. And our policies must be different, our approach must be different. Don't compare Nigeria to other African countries. We are not like them. They don't have private participation at all. All their airlines are subsidized by governments, by their federal governments. So it's important, therefore, for the Nigerian government to turn its own attention to these local operators who keep our skies and our aviation alive, our ecosystem alive. We have 13 active private local airlines in Nigeria that service our local, our domestic and regional routes, and some international routes too. And so it's our deliberate policy to make a lot of, policy, to support their growth and development. And we're going to come to some of these policies that have yielded a lot of fruits, with the active support of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has given enough attention to the aviation sector. I must say the President has supported us in terms of infrastructural development and our policy formation. And we are going to come to those. So it is aligned with one of our 5-point agenda. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria has done very well with our terminals and especially in this case, our Hajj terminals. Since we came into office, we have revitalized and refurbished a lot of our Hajj terminals throughout the country. And for our Muslim brothers and sisters, you will notice that last year, because of this, we opened up a lot of Hajj, routes, Hajj terminals again, where we, performed Hajj from last year, many of the terminals, and that as a result of the effort of our Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria. So most of the Hajj terminals are back, and we are going to continue this year, also lifting our poster that we met when we came. And we have decided to tackle it headlong. And that is the issue of using private, charter planes, which we call the private jets, using them for all kinds of illegal activities. They have been largely unmanned, unchecked, and they just operate the way they like. Beyond that, they also deny the federal government of revenue. Because what most of them do, and this has been happening for 40, 50 years, and when I came, they said, Minister, don't bother yourself with that. These are the big men who own Nigeria. You cannot tackle them, and just forget about them. This is a practice that, and we are losing. In fact, the committee we set up, the task force said, in the last 10 years, the federal government has lost approximately 120 billion naira in revenue to illegal charter operations. And how does that happen? If you bring in a private jet into the country, the first thing you do is to go to the NCAA and ask for a license. The license will indicate whether it is for private hopping or you want to charter, you want to use it as commercial to be carrying people, to be chartering it. And both licenses carry different amounts. I mean, hefty, the difference is very hefty. If it is what they call the PNCF, private charter, non-charter license, is PNCF, they give you a very small fee to pay because it is for your directors of your company, your family, and on and on. You want to just use it for your social events and business events. And so they give you a small fee to pay. But if you tell the NCA that, look, we want to use it for the charter, we want to use it as taxi every day, we park at the GAT there. So anybody come, I want to go to Calabar, you pay $10,000 back and forth, and on like that. They give you a different fee because you are using it for commercial. 80% of all the aircrafts brought into the country, these private jets, they go and obtain the PNCF, the private one. That is the license they all went to. But all of them are parked every day for business. All of them, I'm just breaking it down for you to understand. They are parked there every day for business. And federal government is losing revenue. By parking them, not only that, many of them will now apply to fly out of the country unchecked. You don't even have the manifest, those inside the aircraft. You don't check properly what they put in the aircraft, and they just fly in and fly out of the country. You don't know those who are in the aircraft. Sometimes you hear that there's a near accident with a private jet. We'll be struggling to find out who was inside, who was not inside. Totally unregulated. And so I said, well, I am built to fight this type of things by nature. I told them I will not let it go. I will not. And so I set up a task force on curbing illegal charter operations last year. They sat for more than 6 months. And we brought some of the best hands in the industry, headed by Captain Ado, who has been with Aero for forever, and a very experienced pilot, 7-member task force. And they just submitted their report last week with eye-boggling revelations. In fact, at a point, they even said we shut down the GAT, that private charter wing, for total reorganization in terms of security, in terms of the kind of machines we used to see the bags. Just total, we should shut it down for total, check. Not the commercial part, we cannot do that. But that's one of their suggestions. But we are still looking into it on how to quickly implement these recommendations without too much disrupting passenger movement. But then, they said far more than that in terms of the illegalities that go through there. And I will not shy away from saying it. If it is the big men that are involved, the president has given us a free hand to fight this menace. They cannot run to the president. The president will send them back because the president is determined to do what is right. And so in the next few weeks, they have submitted their report. We are tackling this headlong. In the next few weeks, we are going to be making fast-sweeping reforms. We are going to roll out fast-sweeping, far-reaching measures to curb this based on the reports that has been submitted to us. And we are going to tackle it headlong. So anybody that runs to you and say, go and talk to the minister, don't call me, me and you will quarrel. If you are my friend, don't call me, because we are determined to tackle this. Now, when we came, we also met the African Aviation and Aerospace University at the cusp of takeoff. There was no admission yet, no takeoff. But let me happily report to you that the university has fully taken off. I'm one of the best in Africa, one of the first of such in Africa, where people can even come from outside the country to take courses here. A full-blown university on aviation and aerospace. And we are offered so many courses now. In fact, I'm still going to apply to the president very soon that he should allow me to be reading there now while I'm working. Because it's just there near the airport there. So I can become a professor and a doctor, doctorate degree while I'm, yes. And my directors will be the one to teach me. Let me see how they will fail me. Let me see how they will fail me. So we have offered it's a full-blown university. They have taken off, and we encourage, we encourage applicants to apply. In fact, we have too much applications now that we cannot contend with. And the permanent site has taken off. Actually, we took off with part of the building of the NSIB, Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau. But the permanent site is almost complete now, just by the airport there. So it's a full-blown university. Another happy news we got since last time we were here was that in faraway South Africa, the Airport Council International, they call it the ACI, they hold their normal annual conference, and of course they looked at airports across the world and see the improvements in airports across the world. And we are happy to report that we were awarded, our 2 airports were awarded outstanding dedication to emergency management and resilience, and that is the Abuja and the Port Harcourt Airport won outright the ACI Award, Airport International Council, for our dedication to safety, emergency management. We are ready for emergency in those 2 airports. And they look at how you are ready. Your fire service, your ground staff, and all that. how ready are you to respond to emergencies? And we were rated #1 in Africa in terms of our emergency management and resilience. That also dovetails into the next achievement in the form of the fact that the Federal Airport Authority have been able to cover more than 130 gaps. You know, there are so many boxes you tick when you are looking at an airport and how to certify an airport. Okay, so more than 130, so many things you tick. And between the last time and this time, we ticked more than 130 boxes, 130 boxes, and that was carried out by the NTA. The NTA actually is the regulator. They supervise other agencies in the aviation sector and see how they are meeting up with international standards. We're happy to report that Abuja and Lagos International Airports also achieved what they call the recertification. And in recertifying it, they closed more than 130 gaps, Abuja and Lagos Airports. And so there's a lot of improvement in terms of safety and security in those airports. And those are our two major international gateways, including Kano also. Since the last time we were here, we also had to visit Boeing on their invitation, on the invitation of Boeing. Boeing invited Nigeria because they carried out a study in Africa and they said the next big thing in Africa is Nigeria. That's an official study by Boeing. The next destination of business in Nigeria in terms of its potential to expand more than where it is now is actually Nigeria. So Boeing actually invited us. We didn't go and even hustle to be there. They said, please come and visit us in the US. We have a couple of things to discuss with you. So we were in Boeing, and one of the outcomes of that visit was an MOU that we signed with Boeing. The MOU covers a lot of areas of cooperation, some of which have taken off already. Aircraft acquisition, safety practices, and other critical aspects of the aviation industry. We signed an MOU with them. And since then, we just didn't sign an MOU, an unworkable MOU. The pipeline has actually matured, and most of these things have started to yield fruits. Since the MOU, Boeing has been here. It's a very long, set of things we plan to do with them, including an MRO. Eventually, they plan to establish a full-blown MRO in Nigeria, maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. Now they have taken off. Last year, they were here to train most of the pilots in some of the private airlines. And that's why I said it's one of the policies we have adopted. It's not for the benefit of government itself, but for the benefit of the ecosystem and the private operators, which we have deliberately decided to support. They were here to give them technical support free of charge. The MOU says free of charge, just to support the ecosystem in Nigeria. They've trained a lot of their people, technical pilots, their engineers. They brought their personnel here on their own bill, and remained here for so many weeks and did this training for us. Now, not only that, they were impressed with another thing that we did. Last year, if you remember, we said we were about to sign the practice direction on the Cape Town Convention. It was in the pipeline last year. We had not signed, and we had not seen the effect of that signing. But I'm happy to report to you that after our last briefing here, the Vice President of Nigeria actually superintended over the signing himself, as approved by Mr. President, as the head of the Council on Ease of Doing Business, PBEC, the Presidential Initiative on Doing Business, Enabling Council. The Chief Justice of Nigeria actually directed the Federal High Court to look into our concerns about the inability of Nigeria to fully comply with the terms of the Cape Town Convention. We made that on the ground. It has been there for more than 17 years. Nothing was done. And that convention I've explained over and over, you all know, has to do with a country's capacity and integrity in hiring aircrafts, leasing aircrafts, and releasing those aircrafts when there's a default. Because these are very expensive equipment they take across the world. And they want to make sure that each jurisdiction conforms with the Cape Town Convention so that the ease of leasing and retrieving these aircraft will be harmonized all over the world. So Nigeria was not in that committee of nations that were deemed to be compliant with that. And what was the effect on that? Because this is not just all grammar. The effect was that our local operators have been going out to lease aircraft on very expensive terms. And that is what you see in the high ticket prices too, apart from the issue of Forex. The high ticket prices. It was an issue of policy. What it takes to lease one aircraft under the wet lease, what they call the ACMI. They come with aircraft insurance crew. That's what ACMI, aircraft crew insurance and everything. They come as one package. You are not allowed to take your internal crew, your own insurance and everything. And those are very expensive, wet leases. It is 3 times more than what you used to take. You get a dry lease if your country is fully compliant with the terms of the Cape Town Convention. They will see your country as safe enough. So instead of going to buy brand new aircraft or lease or under wet lease, you can get, look, if a brand new aircraft costs maybe $50 million, some type, $100 million, some type of aircraft, you can lease, instead of going to spend so much money, you can lease up to 40 aircraft with what you used to buy one. I'm being very graphic so you understand the problems we are in. We are in problem. Well, we were in problem. So imagine what it will take. They will now have to pass it on to the tickets, high ticket price, for them to recoup on time, or for them to meet their obligations under the wet list. Because under the wet list, you have to pay back to your lessors every month or every quarter. You have to pay back to them, which is what we call hire purchase under our local parlance. So it was a difficult thing for them. And so this government said, how can we unlock this market for them so that it will trickle down finally to the masses, to the traveling public, and they can have access to brand new planes. Because some of these planes that come under wet leases, they are old planes they have discarded somewhere in the world. Rickety planes that we just go and bring back into the country for domestic and regional flight. And that's why you enter some of these planes, you see them creaking and all that. They creak throughout the flights instead of getting access to brand new planes for our people. These are all locked inside the inability to comply with the Cape Town Convention. This government came and we met so many letters they had written to us before. It's not that they came. They wrote in 2015, 2016, 2017, Nigeria, you're not complying. Now, I met this day on dust were gathering under this letter. They're on these letters. But I said, look, this is my profession now. This is my profession. Is it a practice direction they want? You will get it. The president was very supportive on this. The vice president was immense. The Chief Justice of Nigeria spoke to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. The Chief Judge, the Attorney General of the Federation actually followed me to the Supreme Court on several occasions. We went to meet the Justice of the Supreme Court to explain this to them. And I give kudos to the Attorney General of the Federation who actually worked hard on this with me. And then we also went to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court who empaneled a set of judges. Since the last time we were here, headed by Justice Binta Yanko, she was the head of, and she worked very hard on that. And then we came out with the practice direction. And then the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court signed it in presence of the Vice President of Nigeria, one of the PBEC meetings. The moment that happened, it sent a signal across the world. It wasn't difficult. They were monitoring us. They were looking at us. In 24 hours, our score went up from 49% to 70.5%. And they published it. The Aviation Working Group in both London and New York. It was a notice. It was a notice to the world that Nigeria is now ready for business. We didn't stop at that. There's what they call the IDERA, the administrative rules. We went from there in less than 1 month. We also now made sure we adjusted the administrative rule called the IDERA to comply also. Because sometimes you don't need to go to court. The practice direction is for those who prefer to go to court to try and get their aircraft back. But IDERA, you don't need to go to court. You apply to the NCA. Another 5 days, the NCA will grant you a license to take your aircraft away. So we adjusted that also. The moment we adjusted that, in less than 24 hours, we went up from 70.5 to 75.5. The next day also. So Nigeria right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the highest score in the whole of Africa in terms of the ease of doing business and the leasing of aircraft. Nigeria is number 1 in Africa. Nigeria is number 1. You have to bring me back here again, no? Because you are saying 5 minutes. Because aviation is bursting with so many achievements. So we have to go up. We are number 1 in Africa. Now, we also went beyond that. We went policy, like I said, it's policy. We go from the big to the small in the aviation industry. We looked at the caterers and we said, many of them have been complaining. They are not making too much business. And so many international aircrafts are coming to Nigeria to lift our people. I was saying, how can you make business? You cannot be making business when everybody is coming here. Almost all the international airlines are coming here to lift our passengers. And they are Nigerians they are lifting. So we said, no, this is Ojoro. This is Ojoro. We said, we won't accept it. When you come here, we made a clear policy. As from this year, you will patronize our local caterers in your outbound flights. You come with your food, we accept that. But when flying back, we have enough caterers, sky caterers on ground. We are not saying it's Amalao. We are not saying even if it's continental you want, they can make it. If it's Chinese rice, they can make it. It's not the way you are flying back in Nigeria, will give you one thing. You won't know what you are eating. Now, like, at times the person will say, Mr. Man, what do you want to eat? Do you want to be peperere or parara? You will just look say, give me parara. You will not know what you are saying they should bring. Let them tell us, you want jollof rice or fried rice, abi? Or tuwo? Then you know exactly what you are asking for. Not whether you want perere or parara. And you just say one. So it's a policy. And so we are monitoring their compliance level. Delta has complied. I think Qatar has complied. A couple of airlines have complied, and we are monitoring compliance. Some have asked for a bit more time to enter into contracts with our local caterers. And I said, I will not sign your summer schedule. Because somebody say, how will Keyamo enforce it? It's very simple. Every 3 months or 4 months, you must bring your schedule. Whether we have BASA or not is irrelevant. You must bring your schedule for the minister to approve. They call it winter schedule, summer schedule, and all that. I told them, if you bring your summer schedule, which is due in April, all your summer schedules, I will ask before I approve your flights, where is your contract with a local caterer? Bring your contract. I want to see that you have entered into contract with a local caterer for me to approve your summer schedule. If not, if you don't want to fly, don't fly. Aero contractors or IBOM will take that route. If you stop flying, if you don't want to fly. We have also upgraded the Muhammad Buhari Airport in Borno State, in Maiduguri, to a full-blown international airport. The Northeast have long been cheated. You have international airports in all the other zones. Why not Northeast? Northeast had not one international airport. And in line with the principle of this government, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no part of this country will be cheated in terms of infrastructural development. The president gave full approval for us to upgrade Maiduguri Airport to a full-fledged international airport. So very soon, not only Hajj operations, international flights will arrive and depart from Maiduguri International Airport. In fact, it's even funny that most of the airlines coming from the Far Eastern Asia, they actually fly over Borno to come to Lagos and come to Abuja to land before they can discharge passengers. We have also opened up a couple of other routes. We are back to the Milan route. The Milan route has been opened now. since Air Italia stopped flying in this country about 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, Air Italia. But we brought back another flag carrier of Italy. I've been telling that my time is up. We have also commissioned the E-gates in Lagos. We have rehabilitated the D and E wing ahead of a full-blown rehabilitation of the Lagos airport. So I will only mention one pipeline. That is in the pipeline. Maybe when we come back here, that will be fully realized. We are trying to rehabilitate fully the Lagos International Airport. Can I have 3 more minutes? So just round off. Now, let me round off now. We also went to Boeing. We also went to Dublin in January with all the stakeholders in Nigeria, including the insurance stakeholders and the banks. It was a wonderful international exhibition for Nigeria, and it was facilitated by Boeing. It's what they call the Airline Economic Growth Frontier Conference in Dublin. Now, this is a conference that is held every year where all the financiers, global financiers and resorts, they come together in one place and they trade, they do business. So everybody comes together, those who want to lease, those who negotiate. It's a yearly event in the aviation industry globally. But for the first time, Nigeria was officially invited, all the players in Nigeria, because they now felt we were serious enough for them to discuss with us. So we went to Dublin, and I can tell you that we were the signature of all eyes in Dublin when we were there in Dublin. Most of our local operators, as I speak with you, they came out with so many deals, and watch out before the end of this year. I'll be back here before the end of this year to give you the good news. They are now taking Nigeria serious, that we are ready for business. We are now fully compliant with Cape Town Convention, and almost the biggest lessors in the world, they began to enter into so many MOUs with our local operators. And we hope that will come to fruition very soon. The last thing I'll mention before I sit down is one more policy initiative. Again, we are pushing it further. We are in the process of pushing the Fly Nigeria Act to the National Assembly. There's a Fly American Act. I think there's a Fly India Act too. Most big countries in the world, they have their acts on Fly the Country Act. What does it say? That for all official trips funded by government, you must first patronize local airlines that fly that route. If it's only when a local airline is not flying that route, you patronize an international airline. It's going to be a law. We don't know how the National Assembly is going to see it, but it's a policy push from us. It's called the Fly Nigeria Act, and the draft is almost ready to further boost business within the country. The $1 trillion economy the president is after, aviation must contribute its own quota to the $1 trillion economy. So the Fly Nigeria Act is almost ready. We'll take it to FEC, we'll argue it at FEC, we'll take it to the National Assembly to ensure that all local airlines are first patronized on international routes before international airlines. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Please, can we make the applause a bit louder for the Honorable Minister? Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, I was given an incredible task of timing the Honorable Minister at the risk of not flying in Nigeria again. I just have to follow directives. Please, once again, a round of applause for the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. Without wasting any much time, we'll move to the question and answer section. We know the House rules. You raise your hand, you identify your name, the media organization you report for, and straight to the question. So can we just, by the show of hands, one, the gentleman on the shining cap. There's a hand I'm seeing there. Two, the man from Punch. And then three. We'll take this first trench and then we'll come for the second one. The gentleman there. Your name, media organization, and your question. Straight to the question. Turn it on.
Honorable Minister of Information, I must applaud you. This is a wonderful a wonderful work you are doing.
Please, your name and the
Please
media
continue
organization.
in it. My name is Bob Achanya. I represent Africa Center for Asia plus B Studies. We are a global South-focused organization, and what we are saying here today resonates with what our mandate is, and that's why I'm here. Honorable Minister, applauding you. Let me go straight to the Minister of Education, and I want to thank you for the very exquisite presentation you made. What we'll want to see is putting all you have done down to action. I think we have been so long in the planning. Of course, you met a lot of challenges as you reeled out. But I think our out-of-school children, particularly the Almajiris, they deserve to have a better treatment now. I know it's not very easy, because when you travel, especially on the road, and you come to certain junctions in this country, and you find these people, you cry. And I want to refer you to the Bangladeshi model of how they treated the Almajiris and the out-of-school children. If you want, I may give you details about that. It's something that is working, and I'm sure you know that Bangladesh is an example, especially to developing countries. Now, having said that, I go to SAN, Festus Keyamo. I must thank you as someone I admire very well. I've been following you over the past 10 years in the last government and in this present government. I think your consistency is what actually puts a lot of people, to following you. What you have done in the aviation industry is to tell Nigerians that yes, it is possible. Particularly your private sector participation policy there. I think getting the private sector to be involved and then to be regarded is one very good thing that will stand for you when you leave government. And I want you to applaud it. But I mean, to continue in that stride. Now, let's come back to what we are doing within the D8 and after and ECOWAS. Nigeria is a big player. And if you look at what is happening in Europe, the global setting today is telling us that the world order is changing. If you saw what Trump did with the Ukraine and the Russia war, I think we must begin to sit within the G8 to, yes, I'm making a contribution and then just a little question. So what are you doing? What are you doing in order to create more engagement within the Nigeria and the D8, Nigeria and after, in order to optimize the benefits, just as you are doing for our local businessmen now? I think we need to do more. I would like to know what you are doing in order to create more businesses intra-Africa. When we play it, then it will be possible for us to now expand and go to other parts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, let's stick to the rules. Your name.
Hello, please let me, I please appeal to gentlemen of the media to, let's have one house. Let's be some quiet. We'll be out of this place in another half an hour at most. Please, let's observe some silence so that we can take maximum benefit of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Number 2.
Okay, my name is Adilani. I write for The Punch. I have 2-3 questions for the ministers. The first one is to the Education Minister. Of late, there have been conversion of several polytechnics to the universities. And stakeholders are worried because they felt Nigerians actually need more polytechnics and technical vocational institutions. I'd like to know your take on this. The second question is for the Aviation Minister. Nigerians are complaining about the high cost of international flight tickets. What are you doing to address this? Secondly, and the committee you set up on the legal charter, one of the recommendations is the closure of the GAT terminal. We'd like to know what is the alternative. Are you planning, and what is the implication of this? Will Nigeria lose more money, or is there any way to go get around this? Thank you.
Thank you. And the third person.
Honorable Minister of Education, good afternoon, sir. My name is Yakin Akinwale. I work with the Cable Online newspaper. Since the abduction of Chibok schoolgirls, schools in Nigeria, public and private, have become soft target for terrorists. Then the federal government initiated the Safe School Initiative. Honorable Minister, what is the status of the initiative? And also, you talk about we not seeing Almajiri students, pupils, as not being out of school. I recollect that the former President Goodluck Jonathan constructed some Almajiri schools. What is the status of these schools?
All right, thank you. Honorable Ministers, you may wish to respond to these questions. Thank you. 3 questions. With regards to the Almajiri that you said, I'll take question 1 and question 3 together because they're linked. What we're doing differently with the Almajiris now, we've had programs before that just brought numeracy and literacy to these schools. We're having vocational education to the Almajiri. We've done a clear mappings of these Almajiris, and we're also including the Shangaya school and the other Quranic school. We've now laid out clear DLIs, delivery linked indicators, that we will be using to grant to these malams, to these teachers of these Almajiri schools. And we're linking those grants to the extent in which they let us bring in numeracy, literacy, and vocational skills. And with the vocational skills, we're talking about real skills. We know skills that they can learn quickly: vulcanizing, plumbing, electrician. So what happened that these kids, they're in school, they recite the Quran. After that, they go probably walk on the street. 2 things are causing that. The malams that are teaching them, they need financial support. By the time where government start giving this financial support, those kids will not go out. And it's also linked to what's causing the migration. If you look at these Almajiris, we've done a mapping, clear mapping. Over 90% of those kids are coming from the rural areas, because those parents don't have money to feed those kids. So that's why they send them to the urban areas to be trained on how to recite, memorize the Quran, and other training. We're also going to the source of the problems. We're designing some conditional transfer. That's why this school feeding is really key to us. An alumina program on girl-child education. By the time we go right into the communities, we're helping the mothers with conditional cash transfers that is linked to their children going to school. We will monitor the percentage, the attendance percentage. If they don't meet over 75% attendance in school, they won't get those grants. So as we do that, years after years, the number of kids, the rural to urban migration of these kids to go to Almajiri will reduce significantly. And also, the ones that are already there, we're now incentivizing, we're collaborating with the malams. And those schools, we're also working with sub-national governments. Kano has done has done a great job now registering these schools. So we know where they are. They've been given licenses. We can control, monitor, and intervene with the Quality of Education. And as we let them do this education, we're opening part for them, not just vocational skills, they can advance. We have the ABIP program in place, the Accelerated Basic Education Program, that we're aggressively launching and implementing in these Almajiri schools. Now, with the 115 schools that were constructed almost about 10 years ago, it's unfortunate. Most of those schools are dilapidated. They were not put to use. But we're working with UBEC and the Almajiri Commission to now retrofit these schools. The Almajiri Commission will take over those schools. They can operate schools now. So they will be operating those schools. We've designed additional funding from UBEC to the Almajiri Commission, to the Nomadic Education, for the Nomadic Education Commission as well. And these fundings are clearly, it's not just them getting money, they're linked to deliverables. We've designed our own pay for performance, in which UBEC will be using. So in going forward, we will be seeing a lot of significant improvement in the level of instruction that we're giving to our kids in this Nigerian school and our kids across the countries. It's not a case of just disbursing money. I'm not monitoring those money again. So that is changed. That's changed completely. It's changed forever. Now, with the Safe School Initiative, this is a big thing of high priority to us. And fingers crossed and my hands on fingers, you've seen the level of kidnappings that has significantly reduced. We're collaborating with NSA office, but with Safe School Initiative, we have a command center at the defense, the civil defense area. I won't name the exact place it is. That all our schools are meant to be linked to this center, so that they have rapid response team that will go just in case there's a program, and we have dedicated funding line to support our Safe School Initiative. With conversion of polytechnics to universities, it's just not those. That's not. Let me clarify things. Those the polytechnics that are being converted to universities, they're not the conventional universities. They are going to be University of Technical and Vocational Training. I know we've done Yaba Tech, and there's something about Kaduna Polytechnic being going through the National Assembly now. But what we're doing quickly to stop this floodgate is to go and amend the heart of the National Board for Technical Education, where these polytechnics will now be able to do dual mode. The dual mode polytechnics will now be able to give BTech, Bachelor of Technology. So once that heart is amended, students will go in with an ND program. Once they finish the ND program, they go ahead to do Bachelor of Technology. So we're moving quickly because we don't want this floodgate to open of conversion of our polytechnics to universities. These polytechnics are clearly designed to focus on graduating students with technical and vocational skills. And we don't want to lose that focus. In fact, we need it more than ever in our country today. So the polytechnic will be converted, it will be given dual certificate going forward. And we're moving closely. We work with the National Assembly to get this done very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Aviation.
Thank you. There was a question regarding the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and the question was that what are we doing to ensure that we make our local airlines benefit from this agreement, or to even promote and actualize this agreement. Now, there is what we call the Single African Air Transport Market, SATAM. We call it SATAM in the aviation ecosystem of Africa. It's a major policy that has been adopted in African aviation to promote a single sky for the whole of Africa. If you notice, if you move around Europe a lot, you'll discover that the restrictions we have in Africa to move around Africa, they are not present when you fly all over Europe. But those countries in Europe are different countries. But to move from one country to the other in Europe is not as difficult as we have here to move within African continent. For us in Africa, we are still putting stumbling blocks on our own way in respect of free movement within Africa. And so we have adopted a policy at least in the aviation sector in Africa, championed by the African Civil Aviation Commission called AFCAC, to promote what they call the Single African Air Transport Market, whereby we are determined to remove all the restrictions within Africa in terms of movement and connectivity. So we tend to be our own enemies in Africa, the governments of Africa, that are still putting stumbling blocks. Most of them have not come to the party yet. Nigeria is a full signatory to this, to SATAM, and not only that, we have produced back-to-back the Secretary of that commission. A very bright lady who is the Secretary General of that commission, who heads the bureaucratic part of that commission. And the last time you saw me in Congo, I went to support her re-election. Nigeria supported her election and she got re-elected. So Nigeria, in a way, is a champion of that. We just want other countries to come to the party. Because there's no way you can promote free trade within Africa without aviation. Aviation is even the driver of that initiative, of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Movement within Africa cannot be by land. Movement within Africa cannot be by sea. The only movement you can promote in Africa of goods and services to promote trade is by air. Until you make air transport, the connectivity better, until you make it free, almost free to move around, it cannot take off. That agreement cannot take off. So I agree with you that we have a lot to do to promote the African Continental Free Trade Agreement using aviation as a platform to do that. But Nigeria is doing its own part, and we will continue to put. The last few conferences we have gone to, what I asked them is that why are the foreign affairs ministers not here, and the aviation and the immigration and the internal affairs ministers not here? Because aviation ministers cannot do it alone. It's a complex combination of aviation, foreign affairs, and internal affairs that can make that happen. But right now, SATAM is only being promoted by the aviation ministers. And so it's one of my recommendations to them in our last 3 or 4 meetings that you have to bring on board the aviation, the internal affairs ministers and the foreign affairs ministers to that body for us to promote it. There was another question on the high cost of tickets. We talked about that earlier, but let's go beyond that. It's one of those things I didn't have the time to talk about. Now we have domestic tickets and we have international tickets. I talked about domestic tickets and the fact that we don't have access to lease aircraft at very cheap cost. We only will go for the very expensive option of leasing aircraft or buying aircraft. We are addressing that. We are going to see the results very soon with the Cape Town Convention and the Dublin Conference we went to. The deals are coming in, so we'll see results there. But the international ones, one of the major reasons they used to give is that their monies were trapped in Nigeria. There was a time when we came to office, there were airlines that had 3-year backlog, not just 1 year, not 2 years, 3-year backlog of funds trapped in Nigeria. We had the Naira in CBN, that's the sales of tickets. So let me explain how this happens. When their agents sell tickets to you in Naira, those Nairas are evacuated and dropped in the CBN. CBN will now get the dollar equivalent and repatriate. That is how it is done, so that the tickets will be sold in Naira. So all of these tickets were sold in Naira for 3 years plus, 4 years, but the CBN had no liquidity. You get that? They had no liquidity, no dollar equivalent to send to these foreign airlines. So the funds were trapped. It's not that they were owing them, the Naira was there, but they were trapped, no dollar. Because of the deft policies of this government on removal of subsidy and floating of the Naira, liquidity began to rise. And that's why I said earlier when I was thanking the president for the unusual attention he's paying to aviation. One of the first things the president did when liquidity began to rise in the CBN, the first thing was declaring of the backlog of the trapped funds for aviation. $893 million, almost $1 billion, was cleared of trapped funds. And so we called international airlines. What they used to do was I said, look, well, they said, if you want to buy international tickets, you will see business class, Z grade, J, different grade, but it's all the same. One will be, in fact, one can be 2 million naira cheaper than the other. Those ones, they open it for countries that they know that once they sell the ticket, they can get their money immediately. But they now opened only the high fare for Nigerian passengers since the last 3-4 years. They said because they were taking into account inflationary rates of the money that will be trapped. They don't know when they will get the money back. So they were building on top of it, even profit, inflationary rates. That by the time they want to get the money back, the naira may have collapsed, the dollar may have. So instead of selling a ticket for 2 million or 3 million naira, they will sell it for 7 million. Whereas Ghana will sell it for that price. You say, Ghana is cheaper than Nigeria. This was an issue of policy. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being very, very smart on this, he cleared that first. And so we called them and said, look, it was recently we called them. You have been enjoying this high price because Nigerians were paying. So by the time we cleared this thing, they were still enjoying the high fares. We said, no, you cannot continue to enjoy it. We have cleared the backlog. So you cannot continue to open up the high tickets only to Nigerian passengers. Please, let's go. So that discussion is going on now. NTA is championing that. And I think they held a parley with them recently on that, with one or two other factors in terms of our high taxation. Our airports, they said, is the highest in Africa, their taxes. So this man sitting there here, Nama, this woman sitting there here, fine, we are looking at them to see what we can do about it, because it's not my call. We have to talk to the Minister of Finance to do that. So don't look at the Aviation Minister alone. I'm not in charge of revenue. I have no right to say I will reduce revenue. Wale Edun will kill me. It's the Minister of Finance. The money is not my money. So I have no right to say in the aviation sector, we are cutting down this revenue, cutting down that revenue. These were things we met on the ground. So it's good I just say it out. The taxes imposed in our airports and navigation, they said it's one of the highest in Africa. And the airlines coming here, they build that one in too because they have to pay. And that trickles down to the passenger. So it's a holistic problem we are looking at. And we are going to come to that. But I just want to be honest and frank about that as to why that build-up is there. So attacks of private jets and the activities they engage in, we will roll out. And when we roll them out, please, nobody should complain. If you are a big man, thank God I'm on air. So we are going to run jingle. This is the beginning of the jingle. This jingle I'm talking now is the first jingle. Don't go to the airport to take a private jet if you know, without first of all seeing the manifest of those jets that are licensed to carry passengers. If anything happens to you, we will not be responsible. The second one is that the tower will not clear you to fly unless the pilot files in a manifest of those people on that aircraft, whether you're a big man or not. Whether you're a big man or not, tower will not clear you to take off. I'm just giving you expo. Is expo? We are rolling out many, but these are some of the expo. They will not. They will ground the aircraft until you file a flight plan with the passengers in that aircraft and their ID card. Why will you, poor people or normal people, you want to board commercial, they'll say, where is your ID card compared to your ticket? ID card compared. Are the big men better than us? Me and you. Yeah, big man. Are the big men better than me and you? They must also bring their ID cards. They must bring their ID card, like all of us will bring it to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. For the sake of time, we'll just take 2 more questions. I think I've entertained the men, since it's International Women's Month. Now we'll go to the women. So the lady in orange and the lady behind her. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Deborah Kolawole from the Punch newspapers in Abuja. So my question is for the Honorable Minister of Education and Skills Development. I call him the Minister of Skills Development. Okay, so the first question is about the establishment of new universities and other tertiary institutions. So oftentimes in the past, whenever new institutions are established, some of them face challenges of not, accessing their takeoff grants on time. Then, sir, I also want to ask, are there plans to, ensure that there is an increase in the education tax that goes into TED fund? so that TED Fund is not overburdened as a result of the establishment of these new universities and other institutions. Then my second question, sir, you spoke a lot on, the training of teachers. I know that UBEC, NSEC, and even the TRC and has been doing a lot when it comes to the training of teachers. But in those days, I recall that individuals who end up as teachers go through teachers training colleges. So apart from what UBEC is doing, TRCN is doing, are there plans to, revitalize our teachers training colleges? Then the final question, similar to what someone asked, is the status of our specialized institutions. I know in Nigeria we have specialized universities, specialized colleges of education, and also polytechnics that focus majorly on TVET. But unfortunately, these days, we see that some specialized institutions are awarding degrees in programs outside of their mandates. You have Federal Universities of Agriculture offering Bachelors of Art degree in humanities. You have polytechnics focusing on social sciences and all of that. So what is the plan to ensure that our specialized institutions stay within their mandate, and then you don't have Federal University of Agriculture offering someone a BSc in accounting? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The lady behind her. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable ministers. My name is Comfort Olayinka. I report for a Quad blog. My question goes to the Minister of Aviation. So I want to ask what you're doing to address the delays by our local airlines. And we understand that there are what's it called? We understand that there are policies put in place to address them, but everything has continued the way it was. So what are you doing to address this issue? Thank you.
All right, that will be all for this. Thank you. Minister.
Thank you, Deborah. With regards to the new universities, I agree with you. Everything you've said, we have too many universities coming up on board, more so at the federal government level. And I want to use this opportunity to talk to our legislators, members of the National Assemblies. Please, we need to stop this floodgate. There's so much pressure on the president. We have to at least be sensitive to him as well. They're passing a lot of bills. Today, I can tell you there are almost 200 bills in the National Assembly for new universities to open. We can't continue this. Even the ones we don't have enough infrastructure there. The capacity for our university to admit, it's not there. What we need to do now is to rebuild the capacities to ensure that we can offer more viable courses to our citizens. Today, if you care to know, we have about 64 federal universities, 68 private universities, state universities, and 138 private universities. If you put the entire enrollment together, the 138 private universities account for just about 7.5% of total undergraduate enrollment. I'll tell you in a minute what we've done with that. Even in our 64 federal universities, the total number of undergraduate enrollment today is just about 875,000, which is abysmally low. We have universities with less than 1,000 students, undergraduate students, and there's this intense clamor for more universities to be opened. We have to stop that. We have clear plan. The president has given tentative approval. We're working on the document on effect memo to address that. Now, because you're talking about inadequate takeoff grant, those takeoff grant the TED Fund takeoff grant is dependent on the numbers of federal and state universities that we have. The grant amount is the numerator, and the number of universities is the denominator. As the denominator increases, the X number, which is equal to the grant, reduces. And that's why we have to stop this deluge of just opening universities. We know, I understand the sentiments of our legislators. They want to show that they're working. We know they're working, But then we have enough access, we have enough opportunities out there for students to go to universities. What we now need to do is now to begin to mobilize more resources to develop infrastructures, build engineering workshops, build laboratories in these universities, recruit international standard teachers so that we can begin to now get these universities to develop, to deliver high quality of education that we've been known for as a country. With regards to the education tax, I think tech fund is reasonably funded now. You must have heard some information with the new tax bill about tech fund being sunsetting of tech fund by the year 2030. In 4 years from now, year 2030, as well as NIGDA and NASANI. We work with the Tax Reform Council Committee. We've worked with the National Assembly. I can report to you now that's not going to be the case. Tech fund will continue into eternity. The education tax that will go to tech fund will continue into eternity. I don't want to preempt the legislators, the Senate and the House of Representatives. They're working through the various amendments to the tax bill, but by the time the final document is passed, tech fund, the educational tax money to tech fund will be protected, even to NIGDA and NASANI as well. And I can assure you that with the new development tax levy, the percentage has been increased. But I can't tell you it's still discussion that is going through the National Assembly. So that addresses that part of your question. With regards to the specialized institutions, I share your sentiment exactly. When you have University of Agric, University of Technology, we should not be offering all these other courses. You have the University of Agric that is offering accounting, you have the University of Technology that is offering insurance. And when you do this, and all these other courses with due respect to people that took them, by the time you're trained, you don't have a job. We have to move from the era of training for white-collar jobs. Those jobs are not available again. We need jobs in the technical sector. And if you are an employer today, it's so sad. You want to now recruit people to be electrician, plumber, tilers in your house today. You see, you have to go to Kotonu to get a tiler. You have to go to Togo to get an electrician to come and work in your house. And we have young Nigerians that are here looking for opportunities. We need to give these kids opportunity. And we will be working with the National University Commission. I've had conversation, even this is not a university problem alone. We also have it in our polytechnics. Polytechnics that are meant to train technicians, people in technology sector, vocational sectors. They give percentage of as high as 30% to these schools to admit non-technical courses. We've spoken to them. We're working to reduce that number to about 10 to 15%. And for our universities, our specialized universities, ideally, they should not even be admitting those non-specialized courses. I know Nigerians want to go there. Nigerians that want those courses, but we will make those available in our other conventional universities. And as we do this, I also talked to you about the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu strategy, agenda to meet President Bola Ahmed Tinubu mandate to move to reduce the burden of our out-of-school children. You heard my presentation. We have a clear plan on how to move 10 million children out of school back into school. And as we do this, we also have to create opportunities for them in a tertiary education as well. So we have clear plan on that. With the teacher retraining that you spoke about, yes, you're correct. How do we revitalize a teacher's training? Now, the curriculum for teachers training has been revised within the context of the National College of Education and a Federal University of for a specialized University of Federal University of Education. The National Council and the National Commission for College of Education has worked so hard to revise those curriculum, to focus a lot on pedagogy and all the teaching skills that these teachers need to know. We're also using a lot of technology to retrain these teachers. So there's no need going back to revitalizing the old Teachers Training College. We are far ahead of that. We have in the National Council of Education, the basic requirement to be a teacher is to have a National Certificate of Education degree. And we've infused a significant improvement in their curriculum to train them well. We have teaching labs that's been built in colleges of education so that these students can have real education, real training in the way they teach, in the way on how they teach as citizens going forward. And we also have the Teacher Registration Council. We're making that being revitalized as well as part of our DLIs that we're building in UBEC, delivery linked indicators that we're building in our UBEC formula. Teachers will now be, school will now be mandated to have teachers that have Teachers Registration Council so that we now have registered teachers that we know the state, the government can vouch for that they've been well trained to be teachers. They have the skills to adequately train our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've been here in the last 2 hours. The network channels will soon cut us off. The agreement we have with them is for 2 hours, and we started at 11 on the dot. We want to thank NTA, we want to thank FRCN, Channels Television, AIT, Arise, TVC, and which other one? All the other ones doing live streaming.
Radio Nigeria.
Even though we paid for it, but we still have to thank you for connecting. Let me also seize this opportunity to let you know that the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation is also presenting to the public. Every month we have what we call the FGN Connect. This is also on the social media. It is on Facebook and all the social media platforms every month. So if you want to get accurate, correct information about government programs and activities, please grab a copy of this or go to the social media platforms and you will have it. Let me sincerely thank the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Alausa, for those revealing discussions. The Honorable Minister of Aviation, always nice talking to the media. And the Permanent Secretary, the Special Advisor to the President, Mr. Bayo and Mr. Sunday Dari, and the Permanent Secretaries here, the heads of agencies. Thank you, all of you, for coming. Keep a date with us again. We'll continue to inform you. We'll continue to bring ministers here to have conversations with you so that there will be no room for rumor again. Thank you very much, and God bless.
All right, thank you. May we please rise as we take the national anthem. Thank you very much.